The Mona Lisa hangs in the Louvre, behind bulletproof glass and under constant guard, yet the protection does nothing to stop the endless crowds that form in front of her every single day. Visitors stretch their arms over other people's shoulders, trying to take blurry photographs from a distance. Tourists travel across continents, waiting hours in line, just to spend a fleeting moment before this painting that measures less than a meter in height. In a museum filled with thousands of priceless works, almost every visitor heads straight to her. The scene raises a question that has puzzled art lovers and casual viewers alike. Why this painting? Why has this portrait of an unknown woman, painted 500 years ago, become more famous than any other artwork in history? When people finally reach the front of the crowd, many are surprised at how modest the Mona Lisa appears. The painting is small compared to the gigantic canvases around it, and the woman portrayed is not a queen, goddess, or saint, but a figure of unknown identity, dressed in plain, dark clothing. She sits quietly, her hands folded, her body turned slightly to one side, while her gaze rests directly on us. Behind her is a landscape of winding rivers, rocky bridges, and faraway mountains painted in a hazy, dreamlike manner. There are no dramatic gestures, no grand story, no explosion of color, only silence and restraint. At first sight, it looks ordinary. And yet, this ordinariness hides secrets that would one day make it extraordinary. Leonardo da Vinci, however, was no ordinary painter. Around 1503, he began working on the portrait using techniques no other artist had mastered. His most famous was sfumato, meaning smoky, where he blended light and shadow so smoothly that they melt into one another without visible edges. Earlier portraits often looked stiff, their faces outlined like masks, but Leonardo's figures seemed to breathe. In the Mona Lisa, the transitions around her cheeks and eyes create the sensation of real skin touched by natural light. The shadows soften her features, giving her a sense of depth and volume, as though she might lean forward and speak. This astonishing realism, centuries before the invention of photography, gave the painting an almost magical quality. And then there is the smile, arguably the most famous in history. When you stare directly at her mouth, the smile seems faint, restrained, almost secretive. Yet when your eyes wander upward to her gaze or to the background, the smile widens, becoming warmer and more visible. This illusion comes from Leonardo's shading at the corners of her lips, which tricks the human visual system into seeing different expressions depending on where it focuses. As a result, the Mona Lisa never seems fixed. She is serious one moment, playful the next. Her expression changes, shifting with the viewer's gaze, and this constant ambiguity makes her feel alive. No portrait before or after has captured such a subtle and elusive expression, which is why this smile has fascinated viewers for centuries. Her eyes deepen the mystery even further. No matter where you stand in the gallery, the Mona Lisa's gaze seems to follow you. Leonardo achieved this by carefully aligning the pupils and controlling the perspective, but the effect is unsettling. Visitors describe feeling watched, as if the painted woman is aware of their presence. Combined with her elusive smile, the gaze creates a powerful illusion of life. You are not simply observing a painting, you are locked in a silent interaction with another being. This intimacy, the sense of a portrait that stares back, made a deep impression on generations of viewers and gave the work a reputation for uncanny realism. Yet despite these remarkable qualities, the Mona Lisa was not always considered the most famous painting in the world. After Leonardo's death, the work entered the French royal collection, admired but not worshipped. In the centuries that followed, it was displayed in the Louvre alongside countless other masterpieces. Scholars studied it, artists copied it, but the general public did not single it out as uniquely special. It was appreciated as an excellent portrait, Yes, but for most of its history, it was simply one treasure among many. The quiet woman with the mysterious smile waited in the background of history, not yet the celebrity she would one day become. That all changed in August 1911, when an Italian handyman named Vincenzo Peruggia carried out one of the most daring thefts in art history. Peruggia had once worked at the Louvre and knew the museum's routines. Dressed in a worker's smock, he hid overnight inside the building. In the early morning, when few people were around, he approached the Mona Lisa, removed the painting from its heavy frame, and hid it beneath his clothing. Then, with almost unbelievable ease, he walked straight out of the museum carrying the priceless work. By the time staff noticed, the Mona Lisa was gone. The theft caused a sensation across France, and soon, across the entire world. The disappearance of the Mona Lisa became one of the biggest news stories of the century. Newspapers printed her face on their front pages day after day, turning the once quiet portrait into a global obsession. Rumors flew. Some blamed rival nations. Others whispered about underground art dealers, and even Pablo Picasso was questioned. For 2 years, the painting remained missing, and the mystery only made her more famous. People who had never stepped into a museum suddenly recognized her face. The paradox was clear. By being stolen, the Mona Lisa became more visible than ever before. Her absence had made her presence inescapable. In 1913, the painting was finally recovered in Florence, where Peruggia had tried to sell it. The news of her return caused celebrations throughout France, and crowds gathered to see her once again. But by then, she was no longer just a painting. She was a story. The painting that had been stolen, hidden, hunted, and finally recovered. When she returned to the Louvre, visitors did not just see art. They saw a legend. From that moment forward, the Mona Lisa was transformed. She was no longer one portrait among thousands. She was the star attraction, the face that everyone in the world knew. In the years that followed, her fame only expanded. Postcards of the Mona Lisa were sold by the millions, her image reproduced in homes, schools, and advertisements across the globe. Modern artists joined the frenzy. Salvador Dalí reimagined her in surreal distortions. Marcel Duchamp famously added a mustache to her face, and Andy Warhol multiplied her image in colorful pop art. Even parodies and jokes strengthened her reputation, because each new version reminded the public of the original. She became not just a masterpiece, but the most reproduced painting in the world, present in serious art and in popular culture alike. By the second half of the 20th century, the Mona Lisa had transcended art history to become a universal icon. For many people, art itself meant the Mona Lisa. The Louvre, home to more than 35,000 works by masters such as Raphael, Rembrandt, and Caravaggio, became defined by this single portrait. Tourists rushed through the museum to find her room, sometimes ignoring entire galleries along the way. Her fame fed on itself. The more people visited, the more she became a must-see attraction, and the more famous she became, the more people wanted to come. She was no longer just Leonardo's painting. She was the face of human creativity, recognized by billions. So why did the Mona Lisa become the most famous painting ever? It is not one single reason, but a combination of many. It is Leonardo's revolutionary technique, which made her lifelike centuries before modern technology. It is her enigmatic smile and haunting gaze, which continue to puzzle us even today. It is the shocking theft of 1911, which turned her into global news overnight. It is the endless reproductions, parodies, and media appearances that carried her image into every corner of the modern world. Most of all, it is our own fascination with mystery, the way we elevate an unanswered question into a legend. The Mona Lisa is not simply a portrait of a woman. She is a story about art, culture, fame, and human imagination. And that is why, more than 5 centuries later, people from every part of the world still gather in front of her, searching for meaning in that eternal smile